Okay, in this third video over parametrics, we are going to talk about how to graph the function using a calculator, find specific function values for either x or y, and how to take those two equations and get rid of the t value so that we have one equation in rectangular form with just an x and a y. So there are going to be three different things we're going to talk about in this video. And we're going to start with how x, y, and t are related, and how do you find the value of x or y if you're given one of the values. So let's look at number 1. When x is negative 12, what is y? Okay. And you'll notice in the y equation there is not an x, so I can't just substitute that number in and get my answer. These problems are two-step problems. Okay, but I am going to substitute the number in for the x. So instead of x equals 9 minus 6t, I'm going to say negative 12 equals 9 minus 6t. Now, solve for t. You're going to have to find the t value before you can figure out what y equals. So let's subtract 9 from both sides. So negative 21 equals negative 6t. To get the t by itself, I divide by negative 6. And negative 21 divided by negative 6 is 3.5. Okay. Now that is not my answer because they didn't ask what is t, they asked for y, but you have to find the t first. So now I'm going to take that number, and my equation for y is 3 plus 5t. So I'm going to take the number that I just got and substitute it in for t. So y equals 3 plus 5 times 3.5. 5 times 3.5 is 17.5, plus 3 would give you an answer of 20.5. So you start with what they give you, solve for t, and then you can use that to substitute into the other equation. Okay, now on number 2, they didn't exactly tell you a number, but they gave you some hints as to what to use to substitute in, because they're asking where the function will cross the x-axis. Well, we call that point the x-intercept. Okay, so if my function is crossing the x-axis, then I've got some number for x that I'm trying to find, but my y value has to be 0 if the point is on the x-axis. Okay, so what this really is saying is when y equals 0, what is x? Okay, so it's the same concept as the first problem, they just worded it differently. So you have to know that x-intercept means that y equals 0. Okay, now if you will stop the video and try to work this from here, and then start it up again when you get an answer, so that you can check yourself. Okay, so first we're going to take our y equation, and we're going to substitute in the 0 and get the t by itself. So this time I'm going to add 2t to both sides so that I can be working with positives, but you could also move the 8 instead. So now I have 2t equals positive 8, and when I divide by 2, I end up with t equals 4. That is not your final answer. That's just the first step because I'm trying to find x. So now I've got x equals t squared minus 6t, and I'm going to take this number and I'm going to plug it in for both t values. So x equals 4 squared minus 6 times 4, which would be 16 minus 24, or negative 8. So your x value would be negative 8. Anytime you're asked to find a specific function value, you're going to have to use two steps. Find the t first, and then you can find the variable that you're actually looking for. Okay, now another thing that you are sometimes asked to do is to take two equations in parametrics and change it back to one equation that does not have the t anymore. It just has the x and y. The steps are given up here at the top of your paper. So you should highlight, underline, box. If you don't have the worksheet, write those steps down. So the first thing it says is to solve one of the equations for t. It usually does not matter which one you pick, but you want to find one that is easiest. Okay? Now if you look at number 4, it said our answer needs to be in y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to start with the x equation. So x equals 12 minus 3t. We want to get the t by itself. So I need to move the x to the other side, which would give me x minus 12 equals negative 3t. Negative 3 times t, to do the opposite, I'm going to divide, and I have to divide everything on both sides of the equation by negative 3. So now I've got t equals x divided by negative 3 is the same thing as negative 1/3 x, and negative 12 divided by negative 3 is positive 4. Okay, so t is by itself. That's the end of step 1. Okay. Now step 2 says to substitute what you just got for t into the other equation. And my other equation is the y equals negative 4 plus 2 times t. So I'm going to take this expression and substitute it in place of the t, which would look like this. Y equals negative 4 plus 2 times negative 1/3 x plus 4. So I took the t out and replaced it with our answer from step 1. Okay, step 3, simplify if necessary. So we want to get rid of those parentheses and combine like terms. So we're going to distribute the 2. So I've got y equals negative 4. 2 times negative 1/3 x is negative 2/3 x. And then 2 times 4 is a positive 8. I can combine the negative 4 and the positive 8. So I'm going to end up with an answer of y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. If I graphed this equation, it would look the same as the graph of the parametric functions that we started with. Our new equation does not have a t, it just has an x and a y. Okay, now pause the video and see if you can do number 5. Start it back up when you're ready. Okay, remember our first step is to solve one of the equations for t. And in this case, you do not want to solve the y. You want to use the x equation first because it's the easiest one to get the t by itself. All I have to do to get this t by itself is subtract 3 from both sides. So I'm going to end up with t equals x minus 3. Okay, now we're going to substitute that in to the y equation. So instead of 2t squared plus t, everywhere there was a t, I'm going to substitute the x minus 3. And now comes the algebra part of the problem. We need to simplify. Remember your order of operations, exponents first. So x minus 3 squared, you're going to have to use FOIL or box. X minus 3 times x minus 3. So let's use FOIL. X times x is x squared. Negative, or x times negative 3 for the outside is negative 3x. Inside times inside is another negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. I can combine my negative 3x's. So now I have x squared minus 6x plus 9. Okay, in front of that I had a 2. And then I'm just going to remove the parentheses from the back part because there's nothing to multiply or really to do with that. So I can just take the parentheses off. Okay, so next step would be to distribute the 2 to multiply the 2 times each term in the parenthesis. So I'm going to have 2x squared minus 12x plus 18. plus x minus 3. And when I combine like terms, the 12x, negative 12x plus x, and the 18 and the negative 3, I will end up with y equals 2x squared minus 11x plus 15. And that is my final answer. Okay, so step 1, take one equation, get the t by itself. Step 2, substitute into the other equation. Step 3 is to simplify. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to talk about in this lesson is how to use the calculator. Okay, you can graph parametrics on the calculator, but you have to change the mode. So if you would, copy down the notes that are at the top. See if you can follow those to graph 10, 11, and 12. So pause the video here, write the notes, try to graph 10, 11, and 12, and then I will show you on the next slide what the answers for 10, 11, and 12 look like. If you're not getting it to work out, come see me in tutoring so that I can show you on the calculator where to find these things. Okay, here are the answers for 10, 11, and 12, and notice the arrows showing the movement. So we still want to show the movement.